Every Sunday morning I try to give nuggets of wisdom, and we'll do no differently today. And these are coin phrases that hopefully you'll use on a daily basis for your own personal life. Today we're going to talk about how to know a wise person. Before the weather last week before that, we talked about how to know a simple person. And then we talked about how to know a fool. Today we're talking about how to know a wise person. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 9. And moreover, because the preacher was wise, he still taught the people knowledge, yea, he gave good heed, and so God had set in order. He said the preacher was wise because he taught the people knowledge, taught the people wisdom, and made him wise because he taught the people to be wise. What makes a strong church is a thinking church and a spiritual church. And to know how to apply wisdom to your life. But I love the fact that Solomon talks about the preacher that had a discernment of his congregation and saw the necessity of teaching them wisdom. That there is a difference between wisdom and knowledge and understanding. It's a step process to wisdom. In order for you or for me to get knowledge, we have to be taught. That's where knowledge comes from, to be taught. That's why you go to school, to be taught. Out of teaching, you get knowledge. And a strange thing happens to us when we get knowledge without even almost recognizing it. We get understanding. So from teaching, we get knowledge. From knowledge, we get understanding. Then the next step is the application of that which you understand. That's wisdom. Wisdom teaches us when to do it, how to do it, and how to apply the knowledge and the understanding that we have. So therefore, it is incumbent upon a preacher to teach the people wisdom. Wisdom is like, in a metaphor, it's been very cold. And if you were to go ahead to go outside, when the temperatures were down to, they say, 10 and below, with no clothes on, that's not wisdom. Understanding told you to put on some clothes. Wisdom told you to do it. And because you were wise, you put the clothes on. Moreover, because the preacher was wise, he taught the people knowledge. Proverbs chapter 9, verses 8 through 9, we just deal with verse 8. Reprove not a scorner. In other words, criticizes. I constantly say I wouldn't be in anyone's church if I could not go along with the ministry of that church. I wouldn't stay here. You know why? Because I can't help you. If you believe that I'm a crook, if you believe that I am the person manipulating the congregation or doing whatever I do for self-aggrandizement, if you don't think that you can support the ministry or feel as though something underhandedly is done, you ought to go to another church so that that church can help you. But I wouldn't sit in anybody's church and criticize the church and still come there every Sunday. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. That's just like you living with your husband or your wife and talk about he ain't no good, but you sleep with him every night. I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. But he said, listen to what he says. Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. There are some people that you just leave alone. But listen to this. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you. There's some people you can tell them when they're wrong and they thank you so much. I appreciate it. But some people you try to tell them, they say, you think you know everything. No, fool, I ain't trying to know everything. I'm trying to help you from keep on making the mistakes that you're making. That's what I'm trying to do. A wise man will listen. That's why I talk to these young people like I do. Because I love you. Barack Obama talked about that yesterday. The future of where we are going is in your hands. You have it. The young people, you got it in your hands. My God. The slave master did not want us to read and write. The slave master didn't want us to do anything but go to church. But he did not want us to get anything in our heads. And when you drop out of school, you are falling into a slave plantation, a kind of a slavery mentality. If you want to be free and extricated from ignorance and from racism, get education. Get as much education as you can possibly get. That's right there. Do it. Barack Obama and Michelle did not become what they have become automatically. When they walked on the Pettus Bridge, the Edmund Pettus Bridge, Barack Obama was 4 years old. 4 years old. Well, what happened? Michelle goes to Princeton. Barack goes to Harvard, becomes the editor of the Law Review book. Then he goes back to Chicago. There he meets this pretty woman in an office in a law firm. They meet each other to get married. Prepared for the moment. He was ready. Education will make you ready. Education is not an option. Education is a necessity. Look at somebody and say, education is not an option. Education is a necessity. Let's look at one other, and I'll stop. Listen to this. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but he who hearkeneth to counsel is wise. Whenever you get to the place where you think you know everything, you ain't nothing but a fool. If I were in church, I'd tell you something else. You are a fool. You are a fool. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes. Every fool that you see is conceited. What is conceit? Conceit is when you exaggerate your abilities. You're a fool and don't know it. Look at somebody and say, he didn't call you a fool. You just act like what's good to you. But he that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. If you want to learn, listen to what people tell you. That's why young people, you make your mistake. You think because your mother, your father, and the people are trying to tell you things that you ought to do, you think that they don't know what they're talking about. You say, yeah. Mama, how old are you? I'm 35. Oh, you show him, you show her old. They think you think your mama ain't got no sense. Your mama got more sense in her toes than you got in your head. You have to, a wise person will listen. The way of a fool is right in his own eyes. He that hearkeneth unto counsel is wise. Next, he that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Get with somebody who knows more than you know. Come on here because you know more than I know. Sure take you a long time to get up here. He that walketh with wise men, he that walketh with wise men shall be wise. But if I walk with a fool, I will act like a fool. Whether you accept it or not, people judge you by who you associate with. Listen, in philosophy, you heard me tell it. Socrates in the Socratic theory taught Plato, walking with Plato. Socrates did not write. Check it out. He walked with Plato. Then finally, Plato, come up here, Lawrence. Plato walked with Aristotle. Walk with him. There's a plate, Aristotle. Come on back here, Aristotle. You, Aristotle. You. Come here, Aristotle. Come up here. Who I want? Jack, come here. Then Aristotle walked with Alexander the Great. Each taught the other generation. Now this may not seem to you very much what I'm doing here this morning, but what I'm trying to do, I'm trying really to live in you. What do I mean by that? The more I teach you, the more you will have it in you, and as you get older, and I'm dead and in my grave, you're going to look back and say, Bishop taught me that years ago. I went down and on your job sometimes you think about things I've said and you used it on your job. Why? Because I'm an older man and therefore I need to teach you so that you won't make the foolish mistakes that I made. And if we learn to teach one another, Socrates taught Plato, Plato taught Aristotle, Aristotle taught Alexander the Great. They didn't have fax machines, they did not have Texas, they did not have any of the modern technology but didn't have any technology at all. But they did it through oral communication. Sit down there, Aristotle. Listen to this. By wise counsel thou shalt make thy war, and in the multitude of counselors there is safety. In the multitude of counselors there is safety. You should always have someone in your life as a confidant. You should always have someone in your life that is a source. Everybody needs a source. Let me ask you this. If you needed $1,000 a day, where would you go to get it? Today. Where would you go to get it? Do you have a source that you could go, when the benediction over, you can go and get $1,000? I just heard somebody say, please don't come to me. Let's lift our hands and say, Lord,